Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Be Productive, hosted by business strategist and productivity expert Clara Capano. Join us to discuss the most critical issues affecting our businesses with a fresh, practical, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Be Productive starts right now.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be Productive. I am your host, Clara Capano, and this is the show where we bring on industry experts that are going to give you tips and strategies to help you increase your level of productivity as a business owner and a leader. I am really excited about today's show because we are going to be covering some really important topics, and we're going to deliver another amazing episode to you. Today, we're going to be talking about how we can develop systems and processes so that you can make sure that you are consistently delivering value to create a long-term sustainable business. We're going to be talking about putting together some of the bookkeeping techniques so that you can make sure that you are scaling your business with purpose. And then also, how can we protect everything that you are creating so that should something happen, you are not going to miss a step. So you're going to want to take notes because we're going to be covering and diving into some amazing topics on this episode of Be Productive. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Productive. I am your host, Clara Capano. You know, as business leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, we know that at the heart of everything are our customers, and we have got to maintain quality and consistent relationships with that, meaning that you are going to need to have a system to help you to be able to deliver value and stay visible. So we're going to be talking about the ins and outs, the pros and cons, what we need to be looking for in choosing a contact relationship management system that's going to work for you. And to help me with this conversation is my friend, Mark Wetzig, who is a business growth strategist. So Mark, welcome to the show.
Yep, good to be here. Good to see you again.
I am so glad that we're talking about this because, you know, off camera, you and I were talking about this, and this can become a real rabbit hole for people. But we've got to make sure that we are streamlining it, because if we don't take care of our customers, if we're not showing up for them and delivering that value, we may not stay top of mind the next time they need some help. So let's talk about this first and talk to me a little bit about how a CRM really contributes to the growth and the delivery of value to our customers and our business.
Beyond being able to get everything organized in one place, which is sometimes a real challenge, you really have to look at this, and I have people look at it from the customer's perspective. So in the journey with a customer and getting them engaged in their relationship management, it's a funnel process and then an after sale process. So you start with the top of funnel. You're creating awareness. You're creating a pipeline. You're creating interest. They're giving you, information, an email address, a phone number, whatever it might be. And then the middle of funnel is where the information is being shared. And, again, they're going through the customer process. Bottom of funnel is when you're actually making the sale. And then there's information that can happen as they are now a paying customer that becomes post-sale. So if you don't look at the CRM system as something that is in your business, but look at it more from the customer's perspective. If I'm a consumer, what kind of interaction do I need from the company at a certain point in time in my journey from becoming, a suspect, a prospect to a suspect to an actual client to a repeat client? That's, to me, I have found that is the best way to really match up an effectiveness of a CRM system. It can work great internally, but if it's not connecting with the C in the CRM, then you've kind of, you've won the battle, but you've lost the war.
Exactly. Because, our clients are that database that we cultivate. That's really the heartbeat. That's the central nervous system to so much of our business. And there are hundreds, thousands of CRMs out there. So I know that there is not one size fits all. And I know that there are some key things that we need to look for. So, on an overall perspective, what would you say are some of the key features that somebody should be looking for when they are choosing their CRM?
First of all, it should be easy to work with. And we've talked about this previously. It also is most effective if somebody specifically in the organization is responsible for the management of the CRM. If you leave it to strictly salespeople, it's not going to happen, or it will happen very sporadically at best. So you really need to, the things you really want to look for is the management side of it, the contact management, the lead management, the opportunity management, and understanding what that means. Contact is one thing. How many steps are you really looking at in order to engage and finally sell a client? Is it more transactional and it's only a few steps, or is it something that's more relational and it's going to take a longer period of time? And then the other one is just the opportunity itself. Are you looking for a single purchase, or is there something where you're looking for a long-term relationship with a client where there's a lifetime value that builds over time? So that's one of the main things is really looking at that, and then automating things to the next step in the process itself. The system should be able to easily automate so that you're not having to do manually what technology can do for you. And I've seen that in some CRM systems where it starts to become a bit patched together, and that doesn't work. So if it can move smoothly again from that top, middle to bottom of funnel, that's really something that you want to look for in a CRM system. And then the other one is reporting. It's is it giving you up to date, fast, and should give you real time information. Back to, as we've mentioned previously in other sessions, the KPIs, because the CRM system was probably going to generate a good portion of your KPIs. If you're going to be, really focusing on sales and marketing, that's where the numbers are going to be coming from.
Absolutely.
So, that's probably the best is being able to do that. And also finally can it integrate into other systems easily, whatever systems they may be. Sometimes the CRM system is the system, but can it integrate into other systems such as production and so forth? And then ultimately, is it scalable? I mean, how big? You don't want to get into a system that you're comfortable with, and now all of a sudden there needs to be additions or bolt-ons, or you start to outgrow your system. So that's one of the things when you're looking at this from the beginning is this a system built for not only the size of company you are now, but what you want to be? Historically, I've seen a lot of people be oversold on programs that are going to, be able to handle $100 million business. Well, you're never going to, you don't want to be $100 million business. So you don't need, you've overpurchased. So let's get back to being proportionate to what's out there. And there's a lot of great a lot of great companies out there that can do things for. It's a very competitive market, and that's good. That's good for you as a consumer, as a business owner.
Yeah. And I think that, I love what you just said about you want a CRM to be able to handle not just where you are today, but where you want to go. And again, really getting that vision in, because like you said, you don't want to you don't want to oversize it. You want to have it, again, really built for you, for where your vision is. So I think that's key. And, we can talk about the ins and outs. We can talk about the technology. I love stories because I think stories paint the real picture. Do you have a story, a real life example of where a company brought in a CRM and how it really did impact them for the positive?
It's one where they had an existing CRM, but they weren't using it, or they weren't using it to its fullest potential. It's a retail operation. It was actually a food company. It was production of candy company. And they were strictly tracking leads and clients and people who had potentially, who had purchased, but it was really more of just a glorified Excel spreadsheet of customers. They were struggling, their sales were flat, COVID had hit, and it was really, things went down a lot quicker than they were coming back up. So we looked to reactivate their database because they had all these customers. Well, what are you doing with these customers after a sale? Well, not much. We'll send out occasional flyers, but we haven't tied that into the database.
Right.
So we looked at taking the database and creating an offer to induce people, compelling offer to get people back into the store. Immediate results. Also helped that it was around a holiday. But just re-engaging, because people had known the company, they liked the product, but there wasn't you weren't bringing them back in the door again.
Yeah.
They tied this did a little technology offer code so that they could measure the effectiveness of this particular campaign, because you always if you don't, then you've kind of lost a lot of value there. But they immediately, like a month-over-month increase, they had about a 14% jump in their business, which was pretty substantial. And then have consistently, 6 months down the road, increased their business about 9%, which is a really good jump. But they were able to use that when we were talking about the top, middle, and bottom of funnel. They used the after sale to loop back through the middle and bottom of the funnel again. They were reusing and started to regain traction with people who'd already known and purchased and bought from them, strictly by implementing a little wider use on their CRM program.
Fantastic. Again, just as we said before, it is critical to be able to stay connected to make sure that we're delivering that value consistently. So, this has been such a powerful conversation, because all of you out there, you need to have a CRM. You're not going to remember it all, and you need to have something that is going to be able to help you, again, stay connected, because there could be some hidden opportunities that even you might have forgotten about because time has passed by. So look for those reporting things. Look for ways to, again, make it easy for you, and look for a way to help it keep you in front of them. So Mark, thanks so much for sharing a lot of this. Where is the best place for people to find you if they want to learn more about hiring you as a growth strategist?
There are 3 ways to reach out to me. The first is my website, which is www.reignitegrowthcoach.com. My email address is markw@reignitegrowthcoach.com. And then my cell and text number is 303-921-3440.
Excellent. All right, everyone, you heard it here. You got to take care of the lifeblood of your systems, which is your people. So make sure that you have an easy, thoughtful, and responsive way to stay connected, because when you can be connected with your people, those relationships will bring business back to you. So stay tuned. We'll be right back for more Be Productive. Welcome back, everyone. We are here at Be Productive, and I am your host, Clara Capano. Today, I have my friend Greg Schaffer with the CISO, and he is an expert in the area of cybersecurity. People might wonder, what are we talking about with cybersecurity on a business platform about being productive? But you know what? Should something happen, you got to make sure you're protected so that you can make sure that you are staying consistent. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, is our continuity, our ability to stay consistent and be able to show up should things happen. So Greg, welcome to the show. It's so good to see you again.
Thanks for having me again.
Yes. So as an expert in this field, when I hear things such as cybersecurity, I have to admit that a chill goes through me. It's, instant fear. And I love that you're here because you're taking something and teaching us that we don't have to be afraid when we are prepared. So, how do you work with your clients in helping them to design effective business continuity programs?
The first step is understanding where business continuity fits into the whole ecosystem, if you will, as far as resilience goes. That's referred to as the resilience triad. And what I mean by that is you have business continuity, disaster recovery, and incident response. So incident response is exactly what it sounds like. You respond to an incident, you got to have those processes in place beforehand. Disaster recovery is more about making sure that you get the proper IT systems up, the technology up in an order and a fashion in order to support the business so that the business disruption is as minimal as possible. Now, that's all driven by the effective business continuity plans. And we need to go through that in order to understand basically what would we do in order to keep the business running the way it's supposed to. So we run tabletop exercises, for example, on the plans. The plans are usually quite simple. It starts out with understanding what the impact to the business is. So we would perform a business impact analysis. In other words, if you lost this service, what would happen to the business? And for some institutions, like financial institutions, for example, they have solid business continuity plans in place, and they can go to a paper method to continue transactions. Otherwise, they would just have to tell customers, no, even though we have money that we can give to you for a withdrawal, we can't go through and process it. But they have things in place that they can in case they lose their connectivity. And then, as I said, you develop these plans in conjunction with the business needs and feed into that the needs with the disaster recovery plan. And because again, that's supposed to support the business continuity plan. Mm-hmm. And then also, how do you respond in order to minimize the business impact? And that's going to be your incident response plan.
So it seems like almost like these tabletop exercises almost allow you to workshop real life events so that they're almost like drills that you go through.
Exactly. Yeah. I like to take like for example, current situation right now with regards to tabletop exercises that I script something every year, a different type exercise to go ahead and test the plan, if you will, because I want to make it interesting. If you just do a checklist and you say, do you do this? Do you do this? It gets boring and you don't have folks that are really engaged. Now, this past year in 2023, the scenario that I crafted in the spring was for generative AI. And it was pretty interesting that we found that our clients fell into two buckets, basically, those that knew what it was and had done something already to address it in policy, and those who hadn't. Of course, this means like ChatGPT and those sorts of things. And so the tabletop exercises are important in getting together the necessary stakeholders within the organization. And that doesn't mean just IT. It could be everybody from all the business units. Marketing is very important because you have to get messaging out there. Legal is very important because there are some, particularly if you do have an incident where you've lost some information or you've just even lost connectivity, sometimes there are some legal implications of how you need to report it. And all of this, we want to try to discover before it actually happens, because every tabletop exercise that I've ever run has always discovered some gaps in their processes. And you might think, well, that's horrible that you find gaps. And no, it's good. We're always going to find gaps. I always give them the example that when I was in basic training for the Air Force, I learned pretty early on that the training instructor there would always be able to find something wrong with your locker or your bed if they wanted to. That was the whole point. You can never be 100% perfect. So it's really, it's a way to discover gaps before the criminals do, and it's a way to proactively increase the security posture of the organization. But it must involve departments, as noted before, from across the organization.
Yeah. So I would imagine you've been running these scenarios again for many years. The biggest upset that we had most recently was during the pandemic. And that's when a lot of this really started to, come more to the surface, I think, to a lot of the, I'll call them commoners like me, who weren't too, knowledgeable about these. How did some of these exercises lead up and help people maneuver through, and then even after the pandemic?
Well, that's one of my favorite stories because actually in 2018, our scenario that I scripted for our clients was a pandemic. And the response that I got from several of the clients was like, "Oh, we don't need to do this. I mean, come on, give us something realistic. A pandemic's never going to happen. Nothing happened with the avian bird flu back 10 years earlier." But I'm thankful that I ran it because obviously what ended up happening less than a year later or about a year later was COVID. COVID started. And what really happened with those that had gone through the exercise, they were much more prepared to face it when COVID actually happened. Because if you remember, like all incidents, usually this unfolds really fast. We went from being in a normal environment to everybody pretty much working from home in this within the span of a week. And so those that we did the exercise for the year before, they understood they had gaps with regards to the number of laptops that they needed, or they had gaps with licensing for remote access software, those sorts of things. And they were much better prepared for it when it actually happened. Whereas a couple of clients that we had brought on since then, they weren't quite as prepared for it. In the long term, though, they also, just by going through that exercise prior, they were more well positioned to the new normal that we're in right now, where working from home is more acceptable. You certainly see it a lot more, folks working from home, folks working remotely. Doing video conferencing was more of a one-off type thing prior to COVID, and now it's the way everyone works. And so that's why I try to encourage folks when we do these exercises, don't treat it as a check the box compliance thing. We're really, 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 that's probably one of the most business enablers that we do within information security.
Yeah, it is so powerful. And it reminds me of a quote from Jim Rohn where he said, don't wish for less problems, wish for better skills. And this kind of is what it's making me think of is, you got to get your skill sets. And this is part of our skill sets. Because like you said, nobody ever thought we would need it. But man, aren't they glad they went through it? And, it's less like with the practicing, doing all the drills that we do when we're practicing a sport or whatever, things are thrown at us because we need to be able to react quickly. So I really appreciate you, bringing these things in and getting us to think like these. Now, as an expert in the field, you don't just go out and just do these consultations with companies. You've done many other things. And one of the things I know is you actually have written a book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So the book, I'll hold it up for if you can see it. It's Information Security for Small and Mid-Sized Businesses. And I'm currently working on the third edition. And this, I tried to take it from the approach of not a technical book. This is advice to give the executives of a small or mid-sized business. So it's written towards them. It's not written in technical mumbo jumbo. It's written in business language. I'll have the third edition. I think we'll have it coming out probably around the June timeframe this year. But if you want, you can get a free e-copy of the second edition off the website, vcsoservices.com. There's a button a little bit further down that says click on here for the book, and all you have to do is just click on there for the book.
Excellent. Well, Greg, thanks again for being here and for shedding some light on this. I know this is, again, things that we don't want to spend our time doing, but they're going to really position us to be able to maintain high levels of productivity should something happen. So thanks for being here. And for all of you watching, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Be Productive. I'm your host, Clara Capano. Are you looking at growing your business? Do you have a plan and real strategies to help you scale it the right way? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in this next segment. So get your pen and paper ready because you're going to want to take notes because I am bringing on my friend and bookkeeper extraordinaire, Nora, with Nora's Books. And she is going to talk with us about the importance that proper bookkeeping can have as we grow and scale our businesses. Nora, it is so good to have you back. Love having you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. So we're talking about bookkeeping as it relates to growth and scaling. So how can accurate bookkeeping support a business growth and scaling efforts?
So we are in the age of data, right? Data says everything. And without data, we cannot really make an accurate decision. So that says like accurate data which is bookkeeping, basically, like you can run reports, you can get accurate data, then you can actually make accurate decision. And this is what you need in order to grow your business. If you do not have accurate data, therefore you don't have bookkeeping, you don't do reconciliation, you don't do any of that, then for sure you're going to make a wrong decision. Well, maybe by chance it won't be, but if it was carrying you so far, don't rely on that to carrying you like a year and year after year, because you really need to have that accurate data in order to have an accurate decision. So you want to make sure, like, when should you invest in a new employee? When should you invest and maybe purchasing an asset that's going to help you do your business better? When you should hold off and maintain your cash flow instead. So that's all. You get this data from your bookkeeping, from your financial statements.
Yeah, it's so important. And again, my head is just swimming with all these thoughts because I'm thinking about it for myself and going through all the checks and balances in my head as well. You know, as we grow, you know, as business owners, we think about, okay, what are the systems that we need to evolve, that we need to adapt? But I think sometimes we don't think about the bookkeeping systems that also need to adapt and evolve as we grow. So what are some of the strategies within the realm of bookkeeping that we need to think about as business owners and entrepreneurs so that as we are growing, our systems are growing with us?
So as you grow, you want to make sure you have a financial policy in place, because when you start alone, maybe you don't have that, maybe you have it in your head somehow, but as you grow, it cannot stay in your head. It has to be on paper. So you have a financial policy. Everyone is informed of. You have to financial control policy. So like who's gonna do what and whose access everyone has in the financial system. You need to monitor your financials in a daily basis. This is when you start having someone to take care of that. And you as an owner, you must be doing this on a daily basis to make sure, like, if anything happened, you can take a measurement, any action that needed in timely manner before it's a big loss or, things happen, loss can happen. Like the more people have access to your data, the more security you should have. So you want to make sure you have all these policies in place in order to actually have protect your books, protect your financials. And bookkeeping is only one component in actually the entire financial strategy that you should have in your business.
Yeah. See, and that's another reason why people need an expert such as yourself, because we may not think of these things, or I may say, well, I need a different system, but I don't even know where to look. So again, this is why as a business owner, you've got to have strategic partnerships. You've got to work with people that you can trust and those that can really listen to your vision so that they can help you implement the right growth strategies in every aspect. Now, Nora, one of the other things that we know is so much of what we do today is really about our future. So how does real-time bookkeeping help us, and how does it influence us in the decisions that we make for our future growth and expansion?
Because when we do projection, for example, we can look at the market, look in the ahead, what are we expecting, our goals, but what really keep us grounded is the real data, is the data that is, we know it's fact, it happened. So that is our financial statement that comes from our bookkeeping. And if we are running behind on that, we're not going to see the accurate data that's happening until today. So it's going to affect our decision when we actually plan for future. We want to look as much as possible to the data month by month, season by season. It depends on our industry. It depends on what we are planning to do. Do we need to cut off one service, one product, or do we need to change anything in the way we run business? All of this is going to be actually coming from historical and upcoming data, not only upcoming, because we might be estimating if we're just looking ahead. Like, again, we need to look at the history, which is financial statement, to keep ourselves grounded.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many things to, keep in place and to think about again as we are growing and scaling our businesses. Now, we're going to have all of your contact information in the show notes so we can, get people to your website, but I want to highlight something new that you're doing because again, you are a wealth of knowledge. You have just started a podcast. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and where people can find it so they can continue to get these amazing nuggets from you.
Sure. So it's called Nora Speaks, and it's on Apple Podcasts. I'm doing a daily speaks. Like I can cover like financial, nonprofit, personal stuff, reflection on how I started my business, reflection on my daily life, just documenting as I go. Maybe it can be some inspiration for you, for any of the people listening. I plan to do it like every morning, 6:30 a.m. Central Time. You should be able to listen to it while maybe driving to work, driving to our meeting. So it's short and sweet right now. I don't have plan for the future, but this is how I'm starting. I'm playing it by ear.
Perfect. Well, again, I just am so proud of you for doing that because, again, you are committed to just delivering value and quality education. So thanks so much for doing that. So for all of you watching, make sure that you go and catch that podcast to really help keep you in front of the curve. Because remember, if you're going to be productive, that also comes into how we grow and scale our businesses. So stay tuned. We'll be right back for more Be Productive. Welcome back to Be Productive. As we are running successful businesses, one of the best things that we can do to help us level up our ability to be and stay productive is all in having processes and systems. It's through having these strong set out processes and systems that allow us to deliver a higher quality of both service and experiences for our clients. And to help me with this conversation today, as we talk about processes, I have my friend Chase Trafica with Turner Insurance and Bonding. So Chase, welcome to the show.
Claire, it's great to be back with you.
I love it. One of the things that I love learning from, industry leaders like yourself is this concept of delivering value and how we can do this by having processes. Because so many of us, yourself included, we're in industries where there's a million people out there doing similar things to what we're doing. So the best way for us to show our differentiation and to be able to, again, serve is by really having tight, solid processes. So tell me a little bit about what you and your team at Turner have. What are some of the unique processes that you guys have put into place to serve your clients?
Absolutely. So I think one thing throughout any industry is we can sell products by price, or we can sell service and get those products to our customers with a level of integrity that is far and above the rest of the industry. So I think our process is unique to the insurance industry, but what it does for us is it allows us to not be a quote machine. And what I mean by that is we're not going in, getting information that's given to us, bringing back a price and trying to sell based on that price. What we want to do is come in and have a full risk assessment evaluation. And bring you back some value for what you're paying for instead of just bringing you a product. And that begins with data collection, whether it's your policies, coverages, and everything that goes along with that. This includes financials, property details, any existing coverage you have. Then we can navigate that into identifying the risk and analyzing it. And we can bring the customer back a plan that allows them to see where their gaps may be, where their coverage, they might have too much coverage, they might be overpaying for coverage, and then we can evaluate it and prioritize what they want to purchase based on that risk assessment.
Yeah. When you're talking, one of the things that's coming to my mind is really taking you and your company up a level from just being, insurance and, in insurance and bonding to really being a trusted advisor for your client. Taking that extra step to sit down and talk with them because processes are not one size fits all. And really taking the time to, again, consult with them to not just know what their goals are, but how they want to work their systems, how they want to approach their clients. So it sounds like being able to bring this in and take this extra time with them allows you to, again, to really advise them and consult them so they're making quality decisions. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I believe that companies mindlessly pay for insurance sometimes, and I think it's because they've been nurtured and expected to pay that insurance cost without any value brought to them. The word value is overused a lot. It can mean a lot of different things, but what we want to do is truly be a consultant and not just be an insurance agent. So when we come in and we identify the risk, some of these companies are paying exorbitant amounts for insurance. We want to make sure that cost is bringing them something that they can use and utilize and turn it into an asset rather than a liability that they can use for their business, that they can get something out of. And that starts with us being experts, not only in the insurance industry, but really being experts in the industry which we sell to. So whether it be construction, transportation, manufacturing, we really have to know that industry just as well as our own. That way we can identify the needs of our customers.
And, I really think that what you just said is hugely important. So I'm really hoping that a lot of the viewers are taking this to heart and really hitting on the idea that people are oftentimes being sold things they don't need. And that is, again, the difference between a salesperson and a consultant. And I love that you're there to work with your people as partners, to help them. And you use that beautifully to take things that could be liabilities and turn them into assets. And that's really what you want in your strategic partners. I'm wondering, can you share maybe an example? Was there a success story that really illustrates this high level of differentiation and value that you're bringing by being more of a consultant?
So I think when you talk about a success story or an individual story that allows people to see kind of what processes do for their business, it's somewhat unquantifiable, right? So you can't quantify exactly what the value is when we bring in a plan. Risk mitigation, you can't quantify how many claims did not happen throughout the process. But what we can show is over 10, 20, 30 years that our partnerships have lasted, where insurance, as you know, a lot of times people jump around from agent to agent due to price. And I think when you help a business's bottom line, or you help a coverage gap that might risk their business, might cause bankruptcy, might cause a claim that puts them out of business, if you can take those things away and really be a trusted partner for a business, I think the proof is in the partnership longevity.
Beautiful. I love that. So Chase, tell us a little bit about your company. How long has Turner been around? What are some of the things that you specialize in? And where's the best place for people to find you?
Absolutely. So Turner's been around for a little over 9 decades. We
So
have
just a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years here and there. So there's a lot of expertise within our agency. We have construction and transportation experts, as well as wholesale and manufacturing experts. And what we try to do is not have 100 agents that go out and just try to sell everything. We try to keep 10 to 20 agents or brokers that really understand your business, understand the industries we're in. And you can find us at turnerfirst.com. There's a lot of information there. You can subscribe to our newsletter and kind of see what our expertise really is.
Yeah. And, I would love to get your thoughts on this as we start to close things up for our segment here is, I'm a firm believer that so much of our business comes from our current clients, meaning that when our current clients trust us and trust what we're doing, they are more than happy to connect us with others and bring in the referral. Having solid processes builds that trust because it builds confidence, because when our clients know the processes that we work with and how when they work with us, they know exactly what's going to happen. And again, we're there as a consultant and a partner to them. It really helps with the referral business. Have you been able to see this in your, almost 100 years in the business?
So Clara, when you have good news, it's human nature to try to share that good news with other people. And that's what we try to do, is be the good news that comes into a business and is a part of what helps that business thrive. If you look at it, if a construction company is going to buy a $200,000 piece of equipment, they expect something out of that transaction. And we look at it the same way. You should expect something out of the transaction with us when you do business with us. And hopefully that impacts your business to the point you want to tell others who own businesses about us. And we like to operate on the partnership and relationship aspect of the business rather than pricing rules all. I think you get into kind of a transactional relationship at that point, and you're not really in it for the client's best interest, which we try to be at all times.
I love it. Chase, thank you so much for being here. And for those of you following, he put this in such great terms, and the belief system is money flows to value. So if you are focused on delivering value, if you are focused on helping your people, don't just sell to them, serve them, and people pay for value. So we don't have to try to just price them. We can again deliver quality service and value. So if you want to level up in your business, make sure your processes are designed to serve the clients to their highest and best need. Because when you're a trusted advisor in business, you're going to have clients for life. So stay tuned. We'll be right back for more Be Productive. Thank you so much for watching and following today's episode. I really hope that you took away so much value. I know that I did. One of the things that we were talking about are these systems and processes to really creating a solid customer journey. We want to make sure that our clients are taken care of from the start all the way to the end of the process, but also between them. And by having solid systems and processes that are designed to deliver value, that's what's going to keep you in the game long term. Also, as we do more business, we're going to grow. Well, when we grow, we have other new hurdles that we have to constantly face and get over. So scaling our business and doing that in a way where we're going to be more purposeful and productive is huge. So really making sure that you're using some of those strategies that Nora went over in helping you put together your accounting and your books so that you can have that success. And then also, these businesses, they're our babies. We put so much blood, sweat, and tears into what we do. Let's make sure that we're also protecting them, because the reality is life happens. Things unexpectedly come up, and should something happen, you need to make sure that your business is protected so that you don't have to start from square one over and over again. So thank you so much for being a part of the show, for watching, for following. We are always here, and we are dedicated to bringing you top tier strategies to help you level up your productivity, your leadership, your mindset, and everything to help you run a long-term sustainable business. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and we'll see you next time for more Be Productive.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights